If you're studying for the LSAT in 2025, let me save you some time. Stop studying logic games. Yes, you heard me right. Logic games, the section many students feared or mastered to perfection, is off the test, but that's only the beginning of how LSAT prep has changed. Today, I'm going to break down what you shouldn't waste your time on and, more importantly, where you should focus to crush the new LSAT format. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, for years, the LSAT was defined by reading comp, logical reasoning, and logic games. Now, with logic games gone, the landscape has completely shifted. If you're studying the wrong things or using outdated materials, you're leaving points and law school opportunities off the table. Let's make sure that doesn't happen for you. As of August 2024, logic games are no longer part of the LSAT. Instead, the test now includes 2 scored logical reasoning sections and 1 scored reading comp section. So if you've been drilling logic games or working through books with chapters dedicated to this section, that time is better spent elsewhere. Now, historically, students who scored in the 170s aced or nearly aced logic games, but that's no longer the differentiator it once was. The focus is now heavily on logical reasoning. Think about this. If 2/3 of your test score now comes from logical reasoning, that's where the majority of your LSAT study time should go. Now, even though logic games are gone, the analytical thinking they required is still valuable, but you don't want to waste time memorizing game types or trying to diagram scenarios. Instead, shift your focus to logical reasoning, where the same sharp analytical mindset will pay off big time. Now, many popular LSAT prep books, even some courses, still have sections focused on logic games, and even newer versions may emphasize logic game style reasoning in ways that are no longer relevant. So if your materials are not specifically addressing the updated LSAT format, they're not worth your time. Now, logical reasoning includes roughly 15 different types of questions, but some appear far less frequently than others. So you don't want to waste too much time on rare types like parallel reasoning or evaluate the argument unless you're already scoring 165 plus. Instead, you want to focus on the high frequency types first, like necessary assumption, inference, and flaw. Now, it's tempting to keep taking full-length practice tests over and over, hoping for improvement, but without targeted practice and review, that approach is going to be a waste of time and can burn through the limited pool of official practice tests. There are only 58 numbered exams available now, down from nearly 100 back when logic games was on the test in the old format, so use these limited practice tests wisely. Now, because logical reasoning accounts for 2/3 of your score now, that's where you should spend the majority of your study time. Focus on those most common question types I mentioned: necessary assumption, inference, and flaw. These appear several times per exam and give you the biggest return on your time invested. Now, you don't want to just practice questions randomly. You want to study effectively. And so you want to learn to identify patterns in the arguments and develop strategies for tackling each question type. For example, necessary assumption questions often hinge on spotting gaps in the argument, as do flaw questions. By mastering these fundamentals, you build a solid foundation for success across both sections of logical reasoning. Now, reading comp, of course, is still 1/3 of the test. It's still important, but don't over-prioritize it. There is, however, overlap between reading comp and logical reasoning, particularly with questions like analogy, role of statement, and method of reasoning. Time that you invest in logical reasoning on these types will naturally help you tackle tougher reading comp questions. Now, you've got to have a smart, focused study plan to make the best use of your study time. Don't start with full-length practice tests. A lot of students feel pressure to begin with a diagnostic, and one diagnostic is fine. But remember, it's going to tell you what you already know, which is that you haven't yet studied for the LSAT yet, you haven't yet put in the time, but you can improve significantly. So while you might want to use it as a benchmark, don't get discouraged by it and spend the majority of your time at the beginning focused on building a strong foundation, building the skills and the understanding before you worry about speed. Speed will come naturally once you've built confidence and accuracy with perhaps drilling questions by type. You also want balance in your study plan. Again, 2/3 logical reasoning, 1/3 reading comp. At LSAT Unplugged, we actually create personalized day-by-day study plans for all of our students, laying out exactly what to do from now through your target LSAT test date, and we pair it with private one-on-one coaching on a consistent basis. If you'd like my support on your journey to scoring 170 plus, you can check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And one thing a study plan can do is help you avoid burnout, because LSAT prep is a marathon, not a sprint. You want to schedule regular breaks, regular days off, and you don't want to try to cram too much into one study session, because consistency over time is always going to beat last minute cramming. Now, a personalized approach matters because your prep should reflect your strengths and weaknesses, not those of the quote unquote average student, of which there is no such thing, because no two students are the same. Some are going to excel at analyzing arguments, but struggle with reading comp passages. Others might need foundational work on logical patterns before diving into harder questions, and a personalized study plan is going to make sure that you're focusing on what you need. But you don't want to study aimlessly. A personalized plan of attack keeps you on track, which will save you time and frustration. Back when I first started studying for the LSAT, I didn't have a plan. I took test after test, hoping my scores would magically improve. Spoiler alert, they didn't. It wasn't until I focused on specific question types and spent time analyzing my mistakes that my scores started climbing. And the same is true for every single successful student I've worked with. So here's what actually works on your journey to reach your dream LSAT score. Using up-to-date materials, focusing on logical reasoning, and studying strategically with a personalized plan. Whether you're aiming for a 160, a 170, or beyond, my team and I can help you out every step of the way with that personalized plan with private one-on-one coaching. You could check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'll be glad to help you crush the LSAT and get into your dream law school. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.